Hi, I'm Linda. I live in Manchester, and my videos are going to be based around selling full-time on eBay. And I'm come on to do a video to explain how I've ended up in this situation, because I'm sure that it's going to resonate with a lot of people who are now finding that they're in a similar situation due to the pandemic. So, as I said, I'm Linda, the lady of Lady and the Frogs, and this is just some of the frogs who probably want an introduction, but I did introduce them at the end of the last video if anybody cares to watch. So my situation is I've been to uni, I've had jobs, I've had fairly decent jobs. It's the job I've held for the longest, I held for 8 years. I actually started it when I moved up to Manchester, and it was in the construction industry. I've got an admin background really, and that's what I enjoy doing. And then I was training to be a quantity surveyor, and I pretty much did lots and lots of quantity surveying roles, and travelled all over the northwest and Staffordshire as well. Did a lot of projects there, enjoyed it, loved it really. And 2016 I got fairly ill. I was off for a long time. I had dizziness, which I still have to live with to this day. I've got a condition called persistent postural perception. Although I suffer from it, I don't know, there's no cure for it, and I just sort of live with it. But the main issue that I've had and that I've dealt with all my life is asthma. And I'm used to catching coughs and colds, which are known as coronaviruses. And I'm used to having complications and being ill, and I often end up on a course of oral steroids, sometimes antibiotics if it's a chest infection. And I've ended up with long periods off work. When I was younger, it used to be more like 2-3 weeks off work, you know, with a bit of a sick note, and, you know, maybe a month. And they're always quite sympathetic. But then in more recent years, they stopped being sympathetic towards that. I don't know if it's because I've got older and I'm not fighting things off as well, but I'm on quite a high dose of steroid inhalers on a daily basis, which I take without fail. But when I get a cough or a cold and I'm laid up in bed and it's on my chest, I can't fight it off. I've been told by doctors that it's like because your tubes, you know, you tighten when you have asthma, but you also have like phlegm in them. So what you're breathing out of is a lot smaller. That looks a bit ominous what I was doing there, but it's likened to breathing through a really thin straw, you know, and eventually after 2 or 3 days of breathing through a straw, you're going to get fed up. So, the beginning of last year, I'd had a lot of time off work, and it was becoming an issue. I was being constantly pulled in for meetings with HR, and eventually I lost my job, and that was around March time 2019. So I was out of work, and I was like, what do I do? At the same time that sort of happened, my brother who's also very ill with multiple sclerosis, he had to move into a full-time nursing home. He seems to have survived the pandemic at the moment, in case that's something you're wondering. But he's only just turned 50, but he is basically bedridden, and he's on end of life care, more or less. But it was the period that I became out of work. Me and my family, we had to clear out his lifelong possessions. So we had to put a lot of his clothing, which was very difficult to do. We had to put a lot of that on eBay, so take a lot of it to charity shops. It's really, really, doing that, it's an emotional drain. So I was quite happy to be sort of out of work. I was annoyed at the situation I'd come to with work, lack of understanding and the rest of it with them. But I spent most of the summer sort of going through a lot of his stuff and working out what was valuable, what we would have to get rid of, because me and my parents, we didn't have any room for it, and he couldn't have it in one room in a nursing home. And I know it sounds horrendous, but we've had to sell off a lot of stuff. So that was sort of what introduced me to eBay, you know, and the potential of how much money stuff which seems a bit innocuous can actually make you. And in the process of that, I ended up following a lot of people on Instagram who are actually doing what they call eBay reselling. So buying stuff and then selling it for more on eBay. So I was enjoying being at home, and, you know, aside from the emotional drain of looking through stuff and the memories that it evokes, it was better for my health, and I was able to manage my health a lot better by being at home. And during that time, I saw what other people were doing on eBay, so I started going out to charity shops and seeing what I could find there. And I brought a number of things back and flipped them and realised that, yeah, what they're saying is true. You can make money on it. And then I was sort of like, what do I do? What do I do? Shall I do this full time? Is it feasible? How much money can you realistically make? I'm not entirely sold on it at the moment, but I'll tell you what happened next. Is that I ran into somebody who I knew from my previous jobs, because we dealt with a lot of different companies as subcontractors. So I bumped into somebody and I was like, oh, have you got any jobs going at your place? And it turned out that they did. So I joined another company, you know, and went back to work. And I was thinking, well, no, this is probably what I need to do. I need to get myself back into work, and, you know, and I know where my money is coming from. So there I am, back in this office environment, and people are coughing and spluttering and snotting everywhere. And as we now know, they blow their nose, they touch the door handle, they touch the kettle, they don't get... You come along, you touch the door handle, you touch your face. Next thing you know, you've got leprosy. Exaggeration, but I joined the company. It was October time, end of October. So I worked through the whole of November, and then I caught a cold, which I did my thing. Squeeze lemons, do all the things, take citrus, try and, you know, do my best to chase it off, eat well, keep taking my inhalers properly. But then I know I can always start to feel it, and I sense it in the morning when I wake up and I take my inhalers and it feels like I've done nothing. And I'm really reliant on a bit of Ventolin, and generally, you know, I'm not feeling very good. Keep going to work, but then eventually I end up taking time off and it goes down like a lead balloon. So that period, I think it was something like, it was probably about the middle of December. I could go and get my doctor's notes because they didn't take them. I went to the doctors. They decided that, you know, yeah, I needed a bit of a break, and I would be able to just work it through my system, which is what I expected. And then this new nice employer they keep ringing me up. I have to phone every day to tell them that I'm off sick, even though I've got a sick note. And HR are constantly ringing me up. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a bit weird. So I have like a 1 week sick note, I think. And then I go back to work and everybody's, you know, doing the thing where they don't want to talk to you. Don't know you. Oh, God. Office politics. Great. Did I miss this? So it's the Christmas period coming up. Everybody seems to be off for Christmas. I work through Christmas. Then everything sort of like seems to sort of blow over in January. And then at the end of January, I end up getting another really nasty cold. This one was quite horrendous. I mean, the one that I'd had at December felt bad enough because I don't sleep through the night. And when you have loads of, you know, nights where you don't sleep and you can't breathe and, you know, you feel like you're about to meet your maker, it really affects up here. This episode that I had, it felt quite unusual. I mean, I don't know to this day, maybe I had COVID-19. I mean, unless I get the test done to find out that I've got the antibodies, who knows? But I was really ill at the end of January. Carried on going into work. People are coughing and spluttering. We practically got a bloody Red Cross on the door to the office because everybody in the room is ill. So of course I end up coming down really badly with it, and I have a night where I just don't sleep at all and I'm really bad in the morning. I take my inhalers, it doesn't work. I speak to my doctors and, you know, they're of the opinion that I need to just rest and I need to take it easy and I need to take some time out of work again, just so that I don't end up having a really bad asthma attack. Again, the lead balloon comes down. I'm rang constantly by HR. So I'm just feeling really lousy in myself. At the time, I went into the doctors, I think, about 3 or 4 times because I was just on top of being really ill. I do remember that they gave me antibiotics in the end because it was on my chest and I needed to get the chest infection gone. And the doctor that I spoke to says, you know, you've got anxiety, you've got depression. She wrote me a script out for, you know, anxiety medication. So I told them at work that I was, you know, had depression, anxiety, stress and anxiety, I think it was, you know. And I'm thinking, well, no wonder I've got stress and anxiety because you're mithering me constantly when I'm trying to get better. So I'd gone back into the doctor. They'd said, you need another week off. And I was like, no, I can't do it because I'm fairly new to this job. I've got to go back in. Went back in, and one of my reasons is because I knew that somebody who was there was going on the holiday of a lifetime for Vietnam. But at the time I was thinking, oh, is that actually going to happen? Because COVID-19 was, people were talking about it. I'm in Manchester and I knew that they had loads of people who were in quarantine in Liverpool, and it felt like something that was going to be something. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't know if you were going or not. She said, nothing's going to stop me going. So I was like, well, you know, I'll come back because I didn't want you to be struggling. And they let me work the day. And then at 3 o'clock, they pulled me into a meeting and it was like, yeah, we don't need you anymore. They hadn't even looked at my sick note, but I'd told HR that I'd been off with depression, stress, anxiety, and along with the illness that I'd had and bad asthma. But it was just like, no, you know, I was in my probationary period, so goodbye. So I'm annoyed. I'm still seething about what had happened the previous spring, because I'd been with that company for 8 years. This company, you know, I knew a few of the people from the previous company I'd worked with, and our dealings with them. So, you know, I'm in this position where I'm out of work, And I'm thinking, ugh, so that's 2 jobs in the space of a year that I've lost because of my health issues. I felt sorry for myself for about a day, and then the next day I was just like, right, this isn't happening. I'm going to sell on eBay full time. That's what I'm going to do. I'd been picking up a few bits. I had a few bits. So I had a stock of about 100 things ready to list. And then I was just like, right, I know I've got to pay. I a payday coming. I was paid monthly. So I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to source. I'm going to hit charity shops, you know, on a daily basis and get stuff together to sell. And that's what I did. So I ended up getting a lot of stuff together. We'd had Valentine's Day because I'd been off sick on Valentine's Day. So it was the end of February. It was like the 3rd week in February. So I decided that I would just source, get a load of stuff together, and then I would register as a business account on the 1st of March. And I would start trading then and do it properly and take it seriously. And this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to make money. And it was working out for me. And then, of course, the pandemic came. But, you know, not to complain, I'd sort of, the way I'd done everything and got all my stuff together and done all that sourcing, I had a lot of stock. And I was ready for when we went into lockdown, and I did have stuff here that I'd accumulated, and it's been able to see me through. But my earnings aren't as high as I would like, because obviously I can't go and source from charity shops on a regular basis like I used to be able to. And I think that's what's important, because sometimes you can get that thing which you buy and then you can sell within a week, and those small little things, which people call bread and butter items, those things are the important things, because they keep the sort of cash flow going. And then other stuff, which is bigger ticket items, you have to wait a bit longer for. But I always thought, well, you know, worst case scenario is if this doesn't work out, I'll go back to a traditional job. And so because of the pandemic, it's looking like plan B ain't ever going to come to fruition. It's not something I can rely on. I don't want to go back into an environment where I'm likely to be constantly catching colds, you know, and potentially getting really ill and having to be on a ventilator, because that was something, it was never something I thought about until the pandemic. I because of the way people sort of like spoke to me, you know, sort of imply that asthma wasn't really a thing. I was thinking, well, maybe I'm just making a mountain out of a molehill. So the pandemic coming along has sort of made me realise that, you know, I was spot on in my thinking. It's not a good thing to be in a office environment, and I know that a lot of people are probably going to be feeling the same way, hence why I've come on here and why I'm going to document my journey on eBay, because it's more important than ever that I make it work, because I'm not going back to an office. So as scary as it is, this is where I am. And I think a lot of people are probably going to be feeling the same way. So, you know, you can join me on my journey. I'm scared. I've done a few of my accounts. I'm not quite there. I probably, you know, bringing in about £300 to £500 a month, which isn't really that much at all. So I'm not saying I recommend it, but it's the only option that I've got at the minute. So I'm going to make it bloody well work. My husband has gone back to work. I'm still able to claim universal credit at the minute. So hopefully that's going to like make a bit of a difference, but frankly it's not all that much, and they're going to take into account my earnings, and that's one of the things that I've got to do at the minute. But obviously I'm keeping my accounts anyway because I've got to do a tax return. So hopefully this will resonate with somebody who's out there thinking, I don't want to go back to the office. There are other things out there. I'm only just starting out, so I'm going to put on here how I'm doing, because why not? And well, at the moment I am still on the shielding list. Obviously that's not going to change. However, I've sort of weighed this up. Next Monday, it's Wednesday now, the charity shops are probably going to start opening, and I was thinking, no, I'm not going to be going to the charity shops. And then I've sort of thinking about it, and I'm realizing actually I'm going to have to start putting the mask on. I'm going to have to start going into these charity shops, and I'm going to have to protect my way of earning money, which is going to keep me out of office work and the traditional work environment that has previously seen me really ill. And more than ever, it's important to me. And I'm justifying it to myself because I need to get out there. I need to make this business work. I'm registered as self-employed, so this is what I do. And if I go outsourcing in charity shops, I'm only going to be in there for less than 15 minutes. I'm going to be wearing the mask. I'm not going to be face-to-face contact with people. I've always avoided people anyway, so I'm quite good at it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to get myself back out there. I'm not going to let this defeat me. You know, this is important. During lockdown, the only thing that I've been sourcing is stuff on the internet, which has been Lego, because of my own love of Lego when I was a child. And I've taken most of my stuff out of the loft last year and decluttered it and realised how much money there were in it. So I'll probably still keep doing that, but clothing is really easy to sell, I find. So I'm going to get myself back out there. I'm not going to let this defeat me. Everybody's going to be anxious, but then there's the other people who don't give a damn. I'm quite aware of this. I'm at risk anyway because my husband's had to go back to work, because I'm not letting this ship sink, you know. To not get myself back out there and make my business work would be a bit like burning my house down, because I've taken a pause on the mortgage, but I don't want to pause it again, because 6 months out of that mortgage is going to really push the monthly payments up. So this is my first entry, sort of dialoguing why I'm gonna make eBay reselling work. So if you want to keep following my nutty journey, please subscribe, and maybe I'll introduce you to the frogs a bit more in the future. I can see you looking. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and a thumbs up would be nice, and thanks for listening.